Day 3 of the 2024 NFL Draft is underway, and the Packers just made their third pick in Day 3 after trading up for a player in the 4th, trading up for a player in the 5th, and then selecting their last final player in the 5th before the 6th round and 7th round. So I quickly wanted to do a breakdown of these 3 players, and man, that last pick that the Packers just made, selecting Kitan Oladapo, safety out of Oregon State, in the 5th round, pick 169. If you guys go take a look at my predictive Brian Gutekunst mock draft, I had Kitan Oladapo at that exact spot. 5th round, 169. You guys know how much I love Kitan Oladapo and how the fit made sense for the Green Bay Packers. And although it's the 3rd safety drafted in this class, I mean, I had a couple mocks where I had 3 safeties going to the Packers, and some comments were like, no way they draft 3 safeties. Well, the Packers just drafted 3 safeties in the first 5 rounds. So let's get into these picks. The other safety they drafted was in the 4th round. Let's break them down. Let's go over the stats and give my instant thoughts and reactions. So in the 4th round, early in Day 3 this morning, the Packers ended up trading up with the New York Jets to pick 111. They sent pick 126 and also a 6th round pick 190 to the New York Jets, and they traded up to select safety Evan Williams out of Oregon. And instantly I wrote down on my notes, there were safeties such as Malik Mustafa, Jaden Hicks, and Kitan Oladapo still on the draft board, which I really like. But looking at Evan Williams, it makes sense for what the Packers need in that safety room. We see here a nice athlete, 8.2 RAS, 5'11", 200 pounds, 18 bench reps, runs a 4.6, so not the fastest guy, but a great shuttle and elite explosion, 40.5 vertical and a 10'6" broad jump. Williams, a 4-year safety from Fresno State, then transferred to Oregon in 2023 to kind of try to raise his draft stock, and that exactly happened, being selected in the 4th round to the Green Bay Packers. Looking at his grades over the seasons, we see last year on Oregon, 615 total snaps, a 77.3 defensive grade, run defense 64.5, tackle 67.7, pass rush 84.3, coverage 78.1, and the pass rush is so high. He had 6 pressures and 5 sacks as a safety. This guy is a definition of a downhill box type of safety. And with the Packers selecting Jfab Bullard yesterday, kind of that nickel guy, 2-deep look type of safety next to Xavier McKinney, getting a box guy in Evan Williams makes sense. He did miss 13 tackles of those 54, but if you look at over the 5 years, this guy has made 218 total tackles. So he's in the box a lot. That's what he will project as a Green Bay Packer. He also made 93 total stops. Now, in terms of coverage, he allowed 69 receptions on 105 targets over the 5 years he played college ball. Only allowed 1 touchdown in 5 years, had 4 interceptions, 8 pass breakups, and average quarterback rating of 80.1. But when we look at the last season, didn't allow a touchdown, didn't have an interception, but had 2 pass breakups and allowed a 94.7 passer rating. Evan Williams, still only 22 years old, although played 4 years at Fresno State, 1 year at Oregon, is a 45-game starter, 2-time All-MWC, 1-time All-Pac-12, and he also has almost 500 special team snaps with a blocked punt, a blocked extra point. So this is a box safety for the Green Bay Packers, more depth into that room, but also a core special teamer. The Packers are definitely circling core special teamers in this draft, also getting Tyron Hopper yesterday at the back end of the 3rd round. Now Evan Williams really just rounding out that safety room, not to mention adding Kitan Oladapo to that, which we'll get into. Just outstanding. Adding Jfab Bullard, Evan Williams, and Kitan Oladapo really rounds out that safety room of Xavier McKinney, Anthony Johnson Jr., and those 3 guys, like those 5 safeties, I'm completely comfortable going into 2024 with. Then in the 5th round, the Packers traded up yet again to pick 163 with Buffalo. They sent 168 and 219 and made the most Packers pick ever in the 5th round, selecting an athletic, versatile offensive lineman, Jacob Monk from Duke. I mean, bringing up his RAS profile here, a 9.74 RAS at center, great speed, 5.09 40, good size grade, 6'3", 308 pounds, 31 bench reps. He has 32.375-inch arms, good vertical, and great broad jump. Now, Monk over his career has played a ton of different positions and gives the Packers a lot of versatility on the inside. He's had 12 games at right tackle, so a little bit of tackle versatility versatility, but I don't project him as a tackle at the NFL level. 36 games at right guard and 10 games started at center. So bringing up his PFF profile here, he had a 63.6 overall grade, but only allowed 1 sack and 14 pressures, and that's while switching between 2 positions. So he played center, the most he's ever had in 2023, 270 snaps at center, but still played more right guard, 345 snaps. We see the year before that, kind of similar, 203 snaps at center, 386 snaps at right guard. Then the 2 years before that, 2021 and 2022, his best graded years were all at one position, at right guard, where he allowed 2 sacks in each season, 9 pressures in 2021, 13 pressures in 2020. In 2019, that's when he played right tackle, 759 snaps there. Not a great pass blocker at right tackle. We see 7 sacks allowed, 20 pressures. So Jacob Monk is definitely an interior offensive lineman for the Green Bay Packers and just gives them more competition, more depth, not only at center, but at that guard spot. There's a big hole to fill at right guard. Once the Packers let go of John Runyon, Sean Ryan was already splitting snaps with him last season. The Packers added Jordan Morgan and now Jacob Monk. This also kind of shows that the Packers may indeed see Jordan Morgan just as a tackle. Like, he could definitely play guard, and Brian Gutekunst will put the best 5 out there. But adding Jacob Monk here just screams Green Bay Packer. A 5th-round lineman with great athleticism and versatility in terms of center to guard. Like, that's a Green Bay Packer lineman, and it's going to be a guy in 3 to 4 years that we're like, oh, wow, he's an all-pro offensive lineman. I feel like it's just a repeating cycle with the Green Bay Packers, where in the 4th or 5th round, they get a guy, and you're like, okay, that's a Packers lineman. Then in 3 years, we're like, wow, this guy's an all-pro, right? David Bakhtiari, Zach Tom, and there's many more. The experience of Jacob Monk is very intriguing. A 5-year starter and over 3,600 snaps played between 3 different offensive line positions. Then with their second pick in the 5th round, man, this made me so happy. I think I practically jumped out of my chair here when I heard this pick announced, and that was Kitan Oladapo, safety from Oregon State, at pick 169 in the 5th round. Again, exactly where I had him in my final Brian Gutekunst predictive mock draft. So that's now 3 players that I got exactly right. Jordan Morgan, Edgerrin Cooper on days 1 and 2, and then also Kitan Oladapo here in day 3 in round 5. And if you guys have been a frequent viewer of my channel over the past few months and watched my mock drafts and also my prospect spotlights, which I've done one on Kitan Oladapo, showcasing why he's a great fit for the Green Bay Packers, and I want him in this safety room. That's also 2 players I've done prospect spotlights on that have been drafted by the Packers, Edgerrin Cooper, Kitan Oladapo. And man, I'm so happy they added him into this room. I thought after them drafting Javon Bullard and Evan Williams that maybe they'd be done at safety and the chances of Kitan Oladapo getting drafted to the Packers would be slim, but that didn't happen. I feel like at this point, I got to get a Kitan Oladapo jersey. Top 3, maybe my number 1 draft crush. Definitely a late round guy. Definitely my top late round draft crush in this entire process. Bringing up his RAS profile, an 8.18, elite size, 6'2", 216, so definitely a bigger safety than both Javon Bullard and Evan Williams, and that's why I love these 3 picks. All safeties are different in their own ways and great in their own ways. Decent speed, 4.58, and decent explosion, 36-inch vertical, but not a great broad at 9'9". And oh man, when you look at his PFF profile, I mean, I've looked at this plenty of times. I probably mocked him to the Packers like 10 plus times, and I did 12, 13 mock drafts. I think I mocked him to the Packers like 75% of the time, because a lot of the time you could get him in the 7th, and I kept saying, no way he falls there. He's going to go in the 5th round, maybe even the 4th. And here we are on day 3. Talking about Kitan Oladapo in the green and gold. I'm still so hype, and here's why. An 88.3 overall grade last year, 84.4 coverage grade, 91.3 run defense grade, a forced incompletion rate of 19.4%, a missed tackle rate 12.1%. He had 63 total tackles this year with 11 missed. The year before that, 60 tackles with 7 missed. The year before that, 55 tackles with 11 missed. Man, we got 3 safeties that can make tackles, and that's the beauty of it, right? We remember so many safeties in the past, and you can name probably a bunch of them just in your mind right now. I know exactly who you're thinking of, the group that miss tackles consistently. I don't think that's going to happen with our new guys, especially with Xavier McKinney leading the pack. Last year in coverage, allowed 21 receptions, 36 targets, a 61.3 passer rating, allowed a touchdown, but had 2 interceptions and forced 7 incompletions. And again, imagine this, versatility. 278 snaps in the slot last year, 292 in the box, 174 deep. The year before that, very similar, just a little bit more deep than in the slot. But again, just massive amounts of versatility. The key points from this draft, and any Packers draft under Brian Gutekunst, is athletes and versatility. I definitely recommend you to go check out my prospect spotlight on Kitan Oladapo. I'll link it right above me here if you want to click that video and watch it after this one. But I'm so happy. Like, I'm happy with all the Packers picks at this point. A lot of them make sense. A couple of them, you're kind of sitting there going, okay, well, there's other guys on the board that I like better, right? But again, this just circles back to my point with the Jordan Morgan pick. NFL GM's boards are so different, and this draft more than ever has showcased that. So I don't know why we continue to like clamor that a certain player is worth a certain value or would have been there at a later time when that's clearly not the case. And it gets shown to us every single draft where we're like, oh, like, why is this guy falling? Like a TJ Tampa, right? Like, clearly no team had a second round grade on him, yet he's a consensus second round player. It doesn't mean anything, right? These are all websites made by random analysts or simply just fans, right? Someone like me could make a big board and that could be thrown into the consensus. So anyone can do it, right? These NFL teams have GMs, scouts that are paid a lot of money to do this, and they go meet with the player, they go watch their games, they go watch them test, they watch them practice, right? It's a lot different than simply either A, just thinking about a player, or B, bringing up tape and overviewing it, right? The Packers knew a lot more about Kitan Oladapo than I did, and yet I feel like I knew a lot about Kitan Oladapo. So when we sit here and we say a player is not worth that pick, I mean, let it play out. I'm a firm believer in draft grades being pointless. They don't mean anything. It's like grading a test that you just wrote your name on the top and didn't do any of the test and giving it an A+ because, oh, you wrote your name, like, sounds good. No, that's not how that works. This has to play out. But in terms of the players the Packers got, I'm very intrigued by them. Athletes, versatility, and we still have, I think, 4 picks left, 2 in the 6th and 2 in the 7th. So be on the lookout for that video as well. When those picks all happen, I'll probably bunch them all into a video and break down the 4 players. But this is my instant breakdown and thoughts of these 3 players. I'll have to definitely do tape breakdown on Evan Williams and also Jacob Monk there. I already did one on Oladapo, but I could probably expand that more and do another video on him as well because I just like him so much and I love watching Kitan Oladapo. That is my favorite pick of the day, but I like the other ones as well. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. I appreciate you guys watching the video. I'll catch you on the next one, and as always, go Pack Go.